323 million. That's how many people use dating apps worldwide in 2021. Many of these interactions come and go without a hitch. By these numbers, online dating and communication can be relatively safe if the user is aware and errs on the side of caution. In rare cases, these communications can evolve into something much more sinister and have long lasting negative consequences. Unfortunately, the latter is the topic of today's video. Before we begin, if you enjoy these types of videos delving into the past, be sure to hit that subscribe button as I upload at least once per week. With that out of the way, I'm the Runescape historian. Let's get into the video. The year is 2008. This would be the year a 14-year-old Shane Coffey from Weymouth, Massachusetts would meet a 13-year-old Farah Dowley from Epsom, Surrey, located in the United Kingdom. They would meet on the game known as Runescape. This meeting would turn into a friendship which would blossom quickly, and would go outside of RuneScape and even into Skype calls late into the night, other online games, and then back to RuneScape. Shane was described by family as extremely shy and introverted. In fact, he was so introverted, anxious, and shy in social settings that he would refuse entirely to go into stores to purchase things for himself if he had to go in there alone. In addition, Shane's parents were also said to have their own battles with alcohol and drug use. This could have contributed to a poor home life for Shane and could have caused him to retreat further back into his room and into the online world. Around this time, Shane even had his own YouTube channel where he would post various RuneScape updates such as the God Wars dungeon, as well as concerts he went to, other video games he played, and more. From an outside perspective, Shane was a completely normal teenage boy.
Recording now. Alright, where are you?
On the street. Get in this thing.
Wait, there's some guy over here.
I'm so
Oh, I don't even know who he is. Alright, where are you?
I'm out there.
Wait, you're down here?
Yeah, I'm
I
driving.
don't even know where I am. I'm like trapped up here.
Get in this thing.
I'm coming. There he is. How do I get in?
Good.
With Shane now getting on in his later teenage years, 15 or 16, hormones started raging, and this was really the start of his jealousy, at least according to reports and evidence I found through my research. He would get Farah to download a game under the guise of playing it together or that it was a great game, but little did she know that he had implanted a keylogger in the download file. What a keylogger is, it's essentially a virus that allows the attacker to view all of your keystrokes, and it sends those keystrokes directly back to them. They typically use it to get credit cards, passwords, that sort of thing. Shane didn't want any of that. Shane wanted to make sure that Farah was not contacting any other men online because he was insanely jealous, and this would be his downfall. At an unspecified time later, Farah would actually find this virus and actually link it back to the file that Shane sent her. When she confronted Shane on this, it would cause a big falling out between them, and they would not speak for 2 years. On November of 2013, which would be about the time both of these individuals, both Shane and Farah, were young adults, Shane would contact Farah and apologize profusely for downloading a virus onto her computer and monitoring her. They would make up from this apology and their relationship would continue, only this time it was more flirty and more romantically involved than before. Time marched on into December where the two would actually exchange Christmas gifts at some unspecified date before Christmas Eve, with Shane actually sending Farah a brand new Xbox console as well as multiple new video games with it, a costly gift. But this would also be a costly and grave mistake on Farah's part. Around Christmas Eve, Farah would come to a realization. Her family was entirely Muslim, and as a result, they would not allow Farah to date or be romantically involved with a non-Muslim. This realization would ultimately lead Farah into breaking up with Shane. They would continue communicating on a basic friendship level until February of 2014 the following year. This whole time between December and February, Shane was harassing her to get back with him and also harassing her that he wanted the Xbox back and was just being a nuisance. So in February of 2014, Farah would actually block him on all social medias, including WhatsApp. Little did Farah know this would be the catalyst for some gruesome and heinous events to come. Shane would sit angry and stew in his room all the way until April, getting more and more enraged. How could she block me? He would get so mad sitting in solitude in his room, and between February and April he would come up with a heinous plan. It is in the second half of April that Shane would put this sinister plan into motion. He would buy a round-trip ticket from Boston to Surrey, where Farah actually lived. Between February and April, many troubling things would be searched on all of Shane's electronic devices, such as how to fight hand-to-hand combat with a knife. The policing system in the UK even looked up the local police system in Surrey. Shane would then pack up and start making the 3,200-mile trip to Epsom, Surrey. He was caught on a camera arriving at the airport in Massachusetts. It is here that he would sneak a large hunting knife as well as a murder kit which held tape and zip ties through airport security. He would arrive and then depart at the airport in Epsom and stay at the Premier Hotel. The Premier Hotel was roughly a 20-minute walk from Farah's house. On April 17th, during the daytime, Shane would actually walk past Farah's house, then return back to his hotel. This was more than likely so he could scope out the surrounding area and house layout. Once Shane had returned to his hotel room, he would pull out his laptop and begin spying on Farah using that Trojan mentioned earlier. Shane would find out that Farah had been talking to other males very recently. This pushed his anger into dangerous levels and made him even more unstable. In the early AM hours on the 18th, he would make the walk to Farah's house. Shane would arrive outside of Farah's house at roughly 3 in the morning with his hunting knife and pack. He would sneak around the house until he arrived in the family's garden. While waiting in the garden, he would spot Farah through her bedroom window. He would remain hidden and wait for an entire hour while watching Farah through her window, waiting for her to fall asleep. At 4:30, Farah finally fell asleep and Shane put his plan into motion. He grabbed a nearby brick from the garden and used it to smash the bedroom window and crawl inside. This would awaken Farah, but before she could move, Shane would pounce on her, pinning her to the bed. Shane would then start plunging and slashing at Farah with the knife, hitting her chest and arms multiple times. During this brutal attack, Farah would let out a series of screams which would actually awaken her older brother Muhammad, who was sleeping nude in the next room. He would rush in to his sister's aid, still very much nude, and begin fighting with Shane. He would start by pulling Shane by the back of his neck off of the bed. Shane and Muhammad would then begin fighting over the knife, with Muhammad suffering many deep lacerations and cuts along his arms, hands, forearms, and chest. He would let out a series of screams as well. Luckily, Muhammad and Farah's father would come rushing in and pull Shane completely out of the room. Their father coming into the room actually granted Muhammad enough time to go grab his iron pipe that he used for home defense. He would use it to whack Shane a handful of times until Shane finally curled up with no more fight left in him and said, "Stop, please stop, I'm done now." A few moments later, police would arrive where they would arrest Shane. The two siblings were sent to a nearby hospital to be treated for their injuries, and they would both make recoveries and they would both survive, luckily. Unfortunately for Muhammad, he would now have to live life with permanent hand damage, making the usage of computers, laptops, and other electronic devices impossible. When Shane was arrested, they recovered the large hunting knife, the murder kit, as well as a note on his person that would detail how to fully hack into Farah's new Mac and delete all communications between them. They would also find among his possessions a concert ticket for 2 days after the murder had he been successful. In the early days of the investigation, police would actually make their way back to Shane Coffey's home in Weymouth, Massachusetts, where they would uncover those disturbing internet searches that we mentioned earlier, and they would also seize his Dead Island zombie game. 20-year-old Shane Coffey would be sentenced to life in prison with a minimum of 8.5 years. He would also be given 5 years for wounding with intent. Farah's brother Muhammad would be bestowed with an award for his bravery in the situation, and Farah Dally would make a full physical recovery. However, they will both have to live the rest of their lives with the mental anguish and justifiable paranoia that comes from dealing with a situation like this. Be extremely careful out there, guys, especially online with your personal information. If you enjoyed today's video, be sure to do all the typical things down below. It really helps the visibility on the video and will help newer viewers find these videos. What do you guys think about this case? I'd love to read your thoughts in the comments. I read most of the comments. But that's about all I have for you guys today. This is the RuneScape Historian, checking out. Peace.